Meantime, let's bring in former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it. What's your sense of what Joe Biden is going to do? Because our understanding is that everybody who's in the sort of second orbit around him is trying to tell him it's time to go, but people on the first orbit and then at the nucleus of his campaign are saying, no, stay in. What do you think is going to happen?
You know, I've always said that he will be the nominee regardless. And for the first time yesterday, I have a feeling in my own belief that it's beginning to crack. You've got to understand what's going on behind the scenes. Schumer and Hakeem, the minority leader now, are very weak and they haven't done anything. They just stayed quiet, kind of afraid of the debate. But Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama have been pulling the strings behind the scenes. When Adam Schiff came out yesterday, that was Nancy Pelosi. When Nancy Pelosi, more than a couple weeks ago, went on and said he needs to make a decision when he's already made his decision. And then the movement where President Biden himself, prior in that interview with Stephanopoulos, said the only way he would get out is if God had told him to. Now he says a doctor. Those are all movements going the other direction. And the pressure is mounting. The president, you know, he only gave 3 Oval Office's addresses, even though he's been in office 4 years, and he utilized the assassination attempt to use that address to try to culminate and get an early nomination done before they got to Chicago. But that has now stalled. So it's looking more dire for the president with each passing day.
So in terms of whether or not Biden gets out, I mean, can people cajole him into getting out, or do they use the leverage of donations and campaign funds to say, the money's dried up, people don't believe in you anymore, you've got to go?
Well, they're putting all that pressure. It's like his head in a vice. It's all pressure out. They're taking the money away. People are telling him not to do it. They're doing a lot of damage to him now by making his campaign weaker. But he has all the power. He decides whether he stays in and stays out, but he has to answer this question. Because this moment is a Watergate moment for the Democrats. Many of us have come out and said this has been a problem with him for a number of years and you've been hiding it. So who knew what when? But if he decides not to run, the next question is, should you resign? Because if you can't run in the future, how can you be president then? And then it ends just like Watergate, with a resignation from a president. And that's a taint on his legacy that I don't believe he wants.
Although Lyndon Johnson did say at the end of March 1968 that he wasn't going to run, and he stayed president until January 20th of the next year. One of the big questions is who to replace Biden with should he drop out. I mean, the next logical choice for a lot of Democrats would be Kamala Harris. But Politico carried some inside polling that showed that people like Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, or Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, who I had a chance to meet the other day, he's an impressive fellow, Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, or Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, would have a better chance against Trump than Kamala Harris would. So how would they, I mean, you can't just, can you anoint Harris? Do you need to go through some process, whether a mini primary before the convention, or do you do it on the floor of the convention like they did in 1968, which happened to be in Chicago?
You know, it's so ironic here. The Democrats always say a fair and honest election. Well, what they're doing right now is circumventing a fair and honest primary system. And remember what the Democrats did. They literally changed their primary so people couldn't run against Joe Biden, where South Carolina became the first state where they had no debates. Because you would have seen this Joe Biden, the rest of the world's just now realizing who he is. So I think that would be against democracy, what they want to do. I think it's hard to jump Harris, but I will tell you, those that are trying to push Biden out, they also privately tell you Harris is actually polling worse, and her numbers have dropped since the presidential debate. So she's in a worse position, but it's also a money question. Can the money transfer? Maybe it'll go to a super PAC, but remember, money to candidates is more powerful than a super PAC, because candidates get to reserve TV time at a lower rate than a super PAC.
I want to ask you a quick question about tonight's speech to accept the nomination by former President Trump. Charles Kessler from the Claremont Institute, writing in the New York Times, said this: "At the convention, Mr. Trump faces a new, more promising rhetorical and political situation. His acceptance speech on Thursday night presents a dramatic opportunity for political rebirth. Magnanimity may not come naturally to Mr. Trump, but a close call with mortality can change one's perspective, as Ronald Reagan admitted after his own close call in 1981. It will be hard for Mr. Trump's opponents to run against a near martyr for democracy on the ground that he is a danger to democracy. Nonetheless, they will try." Think about that in terms of the president's speech tonight. Where do you think he'll go?
Well, I will tell you, I think it's exactly along those lines. I'm hearing the president say unite more than ever before, and not thinking about a party, but thinking about a country. I talked to the president the day after that attack on his life, and I did sense something much different, like anybody else that would go through an experience like that. I have seen his actions in the last couple days more humble. I think he's a better man, which is going through. And remember, we know he could do the job because he's already done the job. But this idea, too, of going through this life experience, seeing how humble he was listening to the applause, but looking how he looked listening to his granddaughter. So he's looking for the future generation of America. And in the very end, this tragic situation, like other times, might turn out to be one of the most positive things, where it makes him even improve in the position of a man of who he was prior.
We'll see. We'll see what he's got in store for us tonight. Mr. Speaker, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.